listening to Cody Lundin's Keep Your Ass Alive, where Cody teaches real people real skills, giving raw, hard survival advice with a hug. And now, broadcasting from somewhere in a high desert wilderness, here's Cody.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Keep Your Ass Alive. I'm your host, Cody Lundin, and today I'm going to do another Down the Barrel. And what that means is a down the barrel, I might teach a specific skill or have a specific focus on or answer viewer questions just like yours instead of interviewing someone. And I'm going to talk about something on this Down the Barrel that I don't like talking about, and it's corporate TV survival shows. But I think the angle I'm going to take on this, I think is important for people to know kind of how TV works. And I want to focus in on contracts, specifically a contract that is signed, by people you're seeing on TV on one way or another about the risks. And I'll get into that in a second, but a little bit about how TV works, corporate TV. The hierarchy, here's how it is. The person you're seeing on TV on your outdoor survival show that you're watching is not in control of the final product. The hierarchy of TV is the shareholders, the boss. The shareholders are the people, if it's a publicly traded entity, which all these big cable companies, of course, are. The network is trying to make money for the shareholders. So survival TV shows, corporate survival TV shows are not about teaching you survival skills. They're about making money for the shareholders. Let's be real clear about what the intention is, and that's what it is. So under the shareholders, of course, you have the network, the corporation, whatever cable channel, whatever streaming channel that is, that's publicly traded or otherwise. Then you have the production studio. There's a lot of production studios in the U.S. These are the people that kind of make the cookies. So the network orders what type of flavor cookies they want, and the production company then makes those cookies. Within that production company, you have someone called a showrunner. And that showrunner, the name is apt because they're running the show. So the showrunner is the main guy at the production company that communicates back and forth with an executive director or producer from the network. So you'll have a show in a network. The networks have many shows, right? Because that's how they're making their money with the shareholders. And you'll have a top executive at a show that the showrunner or the production company communicates back and forth with about that particular show, notes, etc., whatever the communications need to be. The showrunner sometimes is in the field if it's an outdoor show, and sometimes not, or they can come and go as they choose to put out fires or to create fires if they're a jackass or whatever the scene may be. Then you have a field producer. That field producer works with the showrunner back and forth, and the field producer is the one that's guiding whatever's supposed to be happening in the TV show out there. The field producer is kind of like the big dog, and then you have a lot of different producers that might work under a field producer or certainly under the showrunner. So we have the shareholders, we have the channel itself, the network itself, then we have the production companies, then we have the showrunner, then we have the field producer, and then we have the regular producers, camera, sound, etc. And then we have talent. And so that the bottom of the barrel is the person you're watching do survival skills on TV with or without any knowledge of actual survival skills. So that's kind of how it works. So don't think that the people you're watching on TV have a lot of control over the product unless they own the network. If they can communicate to you that they own the network, then of course they would probably own that product, which they don't. Because again, this focuses on corporate TV survival shows. And I want to get into, I get sent a lot of stuff via email. It's called spam. Because of what I do for a living, teaching survival skills. And I got this one pre-contract on email years ago, and things have only gotten worse. And I read the contract, and this is a pre-contract. And what I mean by that is this is a contract that you need to sign before you try out for a survival TV show. Everyone you're seeing on TV has signed a contract, and the devil's always in the details, a lot like it is in an outdoor survival situation. So this is a pre-contract. You're signing this just to try out. You're not signing this because you got the job. You're signing this to throw your hat in the ring and try out for this survival TV show. And I'll focus in on a clause here in a minute. And notice I said it's a chemistry test, and that's what they call it. It's not my name, they being the networks. It's not a competency test. It's a chemistry test, and there's a difference. So they're looking for people for whatever they want, whether it's drama, conflict. They're looking for chemistry between people working together or otherwise, or how their chemistry is on camera. They're not looking for competency and outdoor survival skills. They just aren't. So it's a chemistry test, not a competency test. That's another red flag that you should be aware of. So this contract, I'm going to read it verbatim, not the whole thing, God help me. This is just one clause. It's the release clause. And I want to go over it. And it was so horrifying for me to read this, whereas I didn't sign and would not sign anything like this. Again, I just got this several years ago in an email. And I didn't understand what some of these naughty legal words were, and I had to research them. And I'm going to break those down when I'm done reading this to you. So it is written by attorneys, so it's going to sound like that, but we'll work through the legalese together. Quote, release clause. I hereby agree not to sue. Okay, this is you, the person that's trying out for a TV survival show, only you're just trying for the chemistry test. You haven't gotten the job, and you're required to sign this. And notice that you have no recourse. The first thing on the release clause, I hereby, meaning you, agree not to sue. And irrevocably and unconditionally release and forever discharge releasees, that's the production company, the network, or whoever else is in charge of you as talent, its present, past, and future parents, subsidiaries, affiliates, agents, representatives, employees, successors, and assigns, jointly and individually, from any and all manner of liabilities, claims and demands of any kind or nature whatsoever, in law or equity, whether known or unknown, which I or my assigns, agents, and or representatives ever have, now have, or in the future may have against the releasees, including, but not limited to, claims arising out of or related to the uses described herein, the casting of the program, my decision to participate in the program, my appearance and participation in the program, including without limitation, any claims, demands, and causes of action for personal injury, including negligent death, invasion of privacy, false light privacy, or violation of the right of publicity, defamation, infliction of emotional distress, and any other tort in connection therewith, including without limitation any claims relating to or arising from any travel by me hereunder, and any costs and expenses, including without limitation attorney fees, court costs, settlement and disbursements, and that I shall be liable for any attorney fees and costs incurred by releasees in connection with any claim or lawsuit brought in violation of this agreement. And I want to impress upon you, that's actually one sentence. That's literally what I just read to you is one sentence in this legal contract, and what a lot of sentence. So I've already gone over the I hereby agree not to sue. Okay, you have no recourse if things go sideways. Red flag. But then I want to bring to your attention the real meat of this, the real stuff that can happen to you as an attendee or as a participant on this survival show. In this case, this was something you signed for a TV survival show. I'm not cherry picking this contract that was for a baking show. This was something directly for a corporate television survival show. So I'll read it again, the middle part. Personal injury, including negligent death, invasion of privacy, false light privacy, or violation of the right of publicity, defamation, infliction of emotional distress, and any other tort in connection therewith. Damn. Okay, so what do these things mean? And of course, I'm not an attorney. You know that. But I'm going to go down them one by one and show you what people are signing off on that's apparently okay with them so they can be on TV. The first one, personal injury. A civil claim arising when a person suffers harm to their body, mind, or emotional well-being due to another party's negligence, recklessness, or intentional acts. So when you sign this contract before you get on the show, assuming you do, they can do this to you. Okay, this is what you can't sue for. So all these things I'm telling you about, you were dumb enough to sign this contract because you didn't read the fine details, didn't give a damn or whatever, and were willing to throw your reputation on the fire if you had one to begin with to sign something like this. The next one is that needs no introduction is negligent death. I mean, I think that pretty much speaks for itself, but the definition of that is often referred to as wrongful death occurring in law when a person's death is caused by another party's failure to exercise reasonable care. So they can kill you and you can't sue. So what could possibly go wrong, right? This other one is interesting. You know, I've heard of invasion of privacy, but I'll just read you. There's 4 parts to it. And it's really, it goes down a nasty barrel. Invasion of privacy is a legal claim involving the unjustified intrusion into an individual's private affairs or the unauthorized use of their likeness, violating their right to be left alone. It covers 4 main areas: intrusion upon seclusion, public disclosure of private facts, false light, and misappropriation of likeness. And so when I researched this, I was like, damn, that's a lot of stuff. And so, of course, I researched each one, and here's what that means. Intrusion upon seclusion is intruding into a place where an individual has a reasonable expectation of privacy, like wiretapping, peeking, looking into private records, etc. Public disclosure of private facts means publicizing highly offensive, private, true information that is not of public concern, such as medical records or sexual orientation. The next and last one of this one grouping is called false light. False light is publishing information that creates a false, highly offensive impression of an individual, similar to defamation, but focusing on emotional damage rather than reputational damage. There's one more. Appropriation of name or likeness. What that means is using another person's name or likeness for commercial advantage, like using a celebrity's photo to endorse a product without their permission. So that's a handful, okay? That's all under invasion of privacy. So far, we've got personal injury, negligent death, invasion of privacy. And the next one, this is one clause in a contract that you'll sign before you might or may not get picked. So what you should all already figure out here is the footage they take of you in a chemistry test. If you don't get the job, they can still use it to screw up your life, right? Because you've signed this pre-contract that is not an employment contract. If you get the job, you will sign a massive contract, 10 9-point font, 27 plus pages long, of the real devil is in the details. So this isn't the network contract. This is just a little pre-thing to kind of wrap you up, right? Frankly, to take away some of your rights in this situation. Now, false light privacy. I already said that once. I'm saying it again in more detail because they did in the boilerplate contract that I read to you. So in this case, false light privacy, a privacy legal claim involving public, reckless dissemination of highly offensive, false information about an individual, similar to defamation, but focused on emotional distress rather than reputational damage. It misrepresents a person's character, beliefs, or actions, creating a misleading impression that would be offensive to a reasonable person. Another one on this list is violation of the right of publicity. What that means, it's broken down into 4 different parts. One is unauthorized use. The network or whoever could use the use of a protected identity without your permission. They can use your stuff, your footage for whatever they want without asking you anything about it. Commercial purpose. They can use your image in advertising, on merchandise, or for commercial promotion. Again, without asking, paying, or whatever. Identifiability. The individual is readily identifiable from the unauthorized use. The last one is no immunity. The use is not protected by First Amendment exceptions, such as news reporting or public affairs. The next one is one of my favorites. Those of you that have followed my story, unfortunately, know that I was involved. I sued the network I worked with. It was a nasty 4-year lawsuit. I sued them for defamation. And I know a lot about the legal process for that. And I know a lot due to that lawsuit about what can happen in networks, because I've seen a lot of paperwork that people aren't privileged to see because of the lawsuit that I made against them for defamation. So when I do this down the barrel and I dare talk about corporate TV survival shows, I know a hell of a lot more about these shows than the average person because of my experience with TV for many years before and after, dual survival. And also from the lawsuit, I know a lot of stuff that is really the dark underbelly of corporate TV. Defamation is the act of making a false statement, either spoken, which is slander, or written or broadcast, which is libel, that injures a third party's reputation. It requires a false statement of fact, not opinion, published to others causing harm, such as ridicule, scorn, or professional damage. Defamation involves 4 key elements: a false statement of fact, publication to a third party, fault via negligence or malice, and damages. The last one on the list, if it couldn't get any worse, again, we're just on the one middle of that one sentence of one heading of a contract that someone is signing when they don't even have a job. It's called infliction of emotional distress. Fun title. And here's what that means. Occurring when a person through, quote, extreme and outrageous, end quote, conduct intentionally or recklessly causes another person severe psychological suffering. The behavior must exceed all bounds of decent society, often resulting in symptoms like anxiety or severe trauma. Sounds fun, right? So this little clause, kind of just to sum it up, you would be allowing the production company or the network to broadcast for all the world to see. If I did that, I'd be doing something that harms my body, mind, and emotional well-being, causes my negligent death. They could wiretap me, look into my private records, be a peeping Tom, post highly offensive info such as medical records or sexual orientation, use my name and likeness without my permission to make money, put out highly offensive false information to cause emotional distress, trash my reputation both personally and professionally, and cause me severe psychological suffering that exceeds all bounds of decent society. Why in the hell would anyone sign something like this? The answer is people want to be on TV. Okay, they think money, they think fame, they think both. I don't know what the rationale would be, but this is an actual thing that I was sent. Again, that is, you didn't get the job. It's a pre-contract. And you might be thinking, well, Cody, you did that, when you were on your TV show. And the answer is no, I didn't. I signed my contract in 2009, which is an eternity ago, as far as evil contracts. And back in the day when they wanted to defame you or wanted at least the right to defame you, they would say, we protect the right to alter, delete, edit, whatever footage as we see fit. That was code for we can defame you if we want to. Now they just say it. This is in the contract. They say they can defame you right in the contract. They say they can inflict emotional distress right in the contract. So you need to be careful. One, if you get yourself in this situation, and understand that a lot of the people you're watching on TV survival shows, have signed something wiping away a lot of the rights they have with no option to sue if the network negligently does something or whatever the case is. My contract, and I had to work for this, I had my entertainment attorney specifically put in a non-disparagement clause. And you can see what good that did me. It didn't do me a damn bit of good. But I had my attorney put it in so the network or production company couldn't screw with me, which of course, that didn't work for me. Another thing I had my entertainment attorney put in my contract was that I would not be asked or forced to teach any skill that, in my professional opinion, would harm a viewer and would be out of bounds of my profession as a professional survival instructor. So they couldn't ask me to do any bullshit that was out of the context of actual survival training. Now, I did that because I'm a professional in my field. I did that because I care about professional credibility and would like to think I have some sort of ethics on that. And I did that because of you, the viewer, because that television show is going out to tens of millions of people all over the world that are now thinking it's okay to drink their piss or whatever it is. So when you have that bully pulpit like a television show and you're dealing with content that can affect people's safety, you better know what in the hell you're doing and you better be honest. And that's what I had put in the contract. So no one could ask me in the office or whatever, hey, Cody, fall in that cold thing of water or whatever. That was in my contract. And it was in the contract for the reasons I've stated, because it was important to me. Because I'd done enough TV before dual survival to know sometimes there's bad operators in there. And I want my training, I want my teaching to be clean. Because again, you may or may not be trusting me with your safety, and that's an honor and that's a privilege. That's not a right. And that's something that is a very strong red line. And I want to give a shout out to Talking Glass Media here, because this podcast, Keep Your Ass Alive, they're letting me do whatever I want. There's no executive or there's no agenda for me. I come in, I tell them what I want to do, and they do it. And hats off to them, because it's very rare in modern media to have that sort of freedom to put out what I think is best for you guys and gals as listeners. And, maybe I'll get more than a few thousand listens. What I've been thinking about doing is getting false tits or something, or maybe, because I noticed that the women that are doing this, they always show a lot of their boobs. They get like 30,000 views and I'm getting like 3,000. So, someone will talk me out of the getting breast augmentation, I'm sure. But I really appreciate this production company, this media company, because they're allowing me to be me. And I want you, the viewer, to know that's not happening on corporate television, especially corporate TV survival shows. There's a lot of manipulation going on. And if someone doesn't know, if they don't have any experience in outdoor survival skills, but they happen to get on the show, then of course they're going to be fed stuff off camera and teach you and your family whatever nonsense that some producer picked up in off Google in a New York City, the research room. Interns researching typically for free. TV also is important because it puts you in a semi-suggestive state. So TV alters our brain to alpha and theta waves. They call it the boob tube for a reason. So what that means, and advertisers have known this for decades, is when you watch TV as a human being, it alters your brain waves to be in that semi-suggestive alpha theta state that is passive, receptive, meditative. So you're more susceptible to whatever's on the television. That's why when you watch these commercials, you might actually buy the product. So if you can put two and two together, if you're sitting there on your ass in a meditative, suggestive, hypnotic state because of your brain waves, because of the radiation coming off that television, and you're watching someone who's not a real survival instructor teach you and your family survival skills, unfortunately for you, what might happen if you get into a real life-threatening emergency is the shit that comes to mind for you to do out in the field was taught by whoever on that TV survival show you watched. So I'll say it again, and I won't say it very often because I want to talk and keep your ass alive to stuff that does. But this is about keeping your ass alive. Because if someone's teaching you is not a real survival instructor and you take that information to heart, or you think they have any credibility at all or self-respect for being on a TV show, you might want to check that and you might want to do some research. I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. It pretty much drives the point home. I was on a challenging course of mine with students, and there was a guy that admitted that he was going to go on this show, that he'd been chosen for this show called Naked and Afraid. And he admitted to me that he had no survival training or experience at all, and yet he'd already been chosen to be on a survival TV show teaching your family survival skills. So he was real honest about that. And so he thought he might want to need or get survival training before going on the TV to teach survival skills. So he enrolled in one of my courses. And so obviously the talk came around about, hey man, well, how did you get on? You have no experience in outdoor survival skills. You've already been chosen to be on Naked and Afraid. How'd you do it? Here's what he told me. He said, I sent them a video of me having sex with 3 women at the same time. Pause for effect. So ask your wife, get an okay from her. And now all you guys and maybe gals know what to do. If you want to get on a corporate TV survival show, don't have any experience, well, that's what that guy did, and they chose him. So to me, that it's not a metaphor. It's a true story because he told me. It's right from the horse's mouth. It doesn't really illustrate it any more clear that a lot of the people you're watching on the boob tube in that semi-suggestive state are really good at screwing 3 women at the same time and maybe not much else for that. So you have to be careful on that. So again, this is down the barrel about corporate TV shows, specifically a pre-contract that was real, that was for a TV survival show. I read you the release clause only. We talked about personal injury, negligent death, invasion of privacy. So be careful. If you get into a situation where you're signing one of these contracts, read the damn contract. Think about your self-respect. Think about professional reputation. And no one with a professional reputation would sign something like this to then have that professional reputation compromised. So be safe, be smart, think about what you're doing. So that's it for this episode of Keep Your Ass Alive. I'm Cody Lundin. If you want to maybe email me a question that we may or may not answer on the show, you can email us at keepyourasalive@gmail.com. So stay safe, party on. We'll see you next time. Hey campers, so that's it for this episode of Keep Your Ass Alive. Tune in next time and we'll talk to people just like you about survival advice or whatever floats your boat. Want to watch the only survival show on Earth, created, hosted, and produced by a real survival instructor? Check out The Survival Show with Cody Lundin at thesurvivalshow.com. Want to take your learning to the next level? Please visit my Aboriginal Living Skills School at www.codylundin.com. We offer field courses in modern outdoor survival, primitive living skills, or urban preparedness to enhance your self-reliance, confidence, and safety in the city or the wilderness.
Visit www.codylundin.com today.